Hi, Newman Hamza here again, and this is another video, part of the Waves 2U video tutorial series. This video won't focus on any specific task, but rather I'll share some tips on common conventions within Waves 2, which will be useful in virtually any task you need to perform. We're going to start off by examining the grids, which are very prevalent throughout the system and are used anywhere we're displaying data. We're going to open up our CMS menu tree here and navigate down to the Style Sheets section. Here we're presenting all the style sheets that are available for this given website. And you can see starting on the very top here we have a label which tells us which specific grid we're working with at this given time. Each grid has a built-in search, so you can see we have a set of results here. If I, for example, type in a string here, doc, and strike the enter key, it's going to search and locate the style sheet which has that name within the name column. Once I'm in this mode, if I ever need to get all my results back, I could just click on the search icon here without anything in the search field. That's going to bring me back to my original state. Here you can see that we have 10 records, but there's actually 20 total style sheets that are listed within this grid. So in order to page it to the next set, I can either just click on this arrow here, which will go to the second page of results, or in this case, or in a case where there's a lot of different pages, I can even take this particular bar and drag it over. It's going to perform the same action. And you can see here on the bottom right, we're always seeing which items we're viewing and the total number of items which are shown down here below. Here on the top right, we have all the different actions that we can perform on any given item here. So I can select any of these items within the grid and perform any of these actions such as edit. I'm able to delete this item. If I need to refresh the grid, I can click on this particular icon. And finally, if we need to, we could always add a new item using this particular bar. And again, these tools are specifically here for the style sheets. It always depends on which grid you're working with at a time, but for the most part, these tools are pretty much the same throughout. Each grid also has a couple of neat features that are available here on the column headings. For example, we can sort the particular items in the grid by clicking on the top of the column, and you can see that this sorted it alphabetically. We also have the option of taking a particular grid. You can see that we have the move cursor here. I can take this and reorder it, and now we can see that the descriptions in the middle and our usage columns on the right. And finally, we could actually resize these columns as well. So I can take usage and move it over in the case that we have a lot of columns and we need to see one specific column a little better. We can always resize that particular column. Most of these features, again, are very similar going throughout the system as far as the grids go anywhere we're presenting a set of data. The next thing I want to talk about is the right-click feature that's seen throughout the system. If we look here within our Manage Content section, I could open up Manage Websites, and one of the most useful right-click feature we have is the right-click menu on any page. So I can locate any page here, right-click, and you can see I have a whole slew of items that I could do and act upon for that particular page. Most of these tools are also available in other sections, but this is really the quickest way to act or edit a page or rename it, check the properties of it, check the permissions, and so on and so forth. Another time that the right-click menu is very useful is when we're working within the editor itself. Here what we can do is, you can see that we have a set of content in here. I'm just going to add a particular image onto here using my image manager tool. And for this example, we can just really grab any image here. Once this image is placed into the editor, and this goes for really a lot of different objects, we can always use the right-click menu and set some of the image properties or even set an image map editor if we want to link a particular section of this image. So you can see I can click Set Image Properties here, and this will open up. Similarly, if we had a link, we could right-click on it, and just as a rule of thumb, don't be shy to right-click really anywhere within the editor or within the CMS to see if there's a menu that appears for you to make a task simpler. Another convention that's used throughout the system is dragging and dropping items. For example, one thing that is very inherent in Waves 2 is this CMS tree hierarchy, which works very closely with menus. For example, if we had a cascading menu which is looking at this widget section, the order of these items will be represented on the front-end website the same way they're ordered here. So if there was a case where we needed to take data display and move it above cascading menu in the way that it appears on the website, we can simply drag it and drop it above cascading menu, And you can see that the order is corrected as soon as I do that. Within the editor, we're also dragging and dropping items. For example, if I want to take this test image and move it to another section, I can just drag it, drop it, and you can see that it's easily moved to wherever I drop the image, wherever I let my mouse cursor go. Another example of dragging and dropping would happen in the security section, where we're assigning permissions and assigning roles. So if I go to the roles section here, and basically what we're doing here in this interface is assigning particular users or groups permissions to access different sections of the CMS when they log in. That's if they're not an admin user. You can see here we have groups and users list, and in order to apply a role to any of these, I need to bring them over to the selected groups and users bin. Now I can select one and just click on this button to bring it over, or I can just drag it and drop it into this bin, and you can see those dotted guides are kind of what I want to look at when I'm dragging and dropping. So again, another example, and same thing goes here as it does with the right click menu. Don't be shy to try drag and drop within the system. We've really used that convention throughout to make it easier to perform your daily tasks. Finally, tooltips is another thing that you want to be wary about. For example, if I open up Manage Content here, you can see any item that we go over has a nice friendly tooltip. In the case of pages, it's very useful. What we're viewing here is the menu label. But when I go over and use the tooltip over a page, it gives me the physical file name of the page. So if that's what I'm familiar to recognize a page with, I could always use the tooltip here to do that. Similarly, right now we're on the roles interface, but this would hold true for really any interface with buttons. We can hover over any of the tools here to see what that particular tool does. So you can see that as I go over here, I see a little tooltip that represents what that particular button is for. And finally, if we go to one of our pages, hop back over to our technology page, we know that when we're editing a page, we have these different pen icons that let us edit the various dynamic elements on a page. Again, if I'm not sure what any of these are, I could utilize the tooltip, go over it, and we can see here, for example, we'd be editing the cascading menu. Over here, we'd be editing the search, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, there's a lot of different tips that are kind of hidden, but once you get used to them, the conventions hold true throughout, whether you're dragging and dropping, right-clicking, working with grids, utilizing tooltips. These are ways that would make your CMS experience within Waves 2 better. And that, for now, concludes this video on a couple tips and tricks on how to use Waves 2 efficiently.